Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something absolutely essential for language learners. Look, if you've ever felt like your English is pretty solid, but you just keep stepping into the same frustrating little traps, well, you are in exactly the right place. Think of this explainer as your personal survival guide. We're going to bypass the 6 most common, most frustrating grammar traps in the English language. So, grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's upgrade your English.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. 1. Past simple story traps. 2. Say versus tell versus talk versus speak. 3. Navigating articles. 4. Tricky prepositions. 5. Make, do, have, and take. And finally, number 6, quantifiers.
Let's kick things off with trap number 1. Past simple story traps. Don't mix up your pasts.
So, we've literally all been there. You're having a great conversation, you're telling a fun story about your weekend, building momentum, feeling confident, and then suddenly, bam, you drop the wrong verb form and the whole story just kind of stumbles. It happens. Notice the 2 massive traps here. Did it took and we drunk a lot. Why don't these work? Well, first off, whenever we use a negative or a question with the word did, we absolutely always pair it with the base verb, not the past form. So it's never did it took. It's always did it take. Second, we've got that classic mix-up between the simple past and the past participle. For a finished event, we just want the simple past. So scratch we drunk a lot and replace it with we drank a lot.
And hey, when you're telling that epic weekend story, consistency is your absolute best friend. You've got to keep the whole story in the past, and then we rented a flat. You know, it's incredibly easy to accidentally slip into the present tense right in the middle of your story and say, and then we rent a flat. But doing that totally breaks the immersion. Just anchor yourself in the past tense and stay right there until the story is completely done.
All right, moving right along to trap number 2. Say, tell, talk, and speak. The communication confusion.
I mean, these 4 verbs are just frustratingly close in meaning, aren't they? They all involve using your voice. But before we get into the structural rules, let's test your instincts for a second. Do you say a story or do you tell a story? Think about it for just a beat. Which one actually sounds right to your ear?
Okay, if you guessed tell a story, you are spot on. You've got traps like say me and say about, but the structural corrections are actually say it to me and talk about. Here's the secret the source material reveals. The word tell goes straight to a person with 0 prepositions in the way. You literally just tell the manager, or tell me. But say, talk, and speak, they demand specific structural companions. If you use say and you're mentioning a listener, you absolutely must add to. Say it to me. Plus, there's no such thing as say about. If you want to discuss a topic, you have to talk about it or tell someone about it.
To give us a really fantastic mental shortcut, check out these fixed tell phrases. Tell the truth, tell a lie, tell a story, tell the time, and tell the difference. Honestly, learning these as single, unbreakable units helps so much. So the crucial point is, trust the structure around the verb. Oh, and one extra golden rule for this trap. When you are referring to languages, the verb is uniquely speak, like she speaks 3 languages.
Let's tackle trap 3, navigating English articles. A, an, the, or nothing.
Now, if your native language completely lacks articles, like if you speak Russian, for example, this is a notorious, frustrating, and totally understandable hurdle. It literally feels like English just scatters these tiny words everywhere just to mess with you. But if you look at how these rules map out, it's actually a really logical system. You use a or an when a noun is singular, not specific, or it's the very first time you're mentioning it. This is especially true for jobs, like a designer. Then you use the when something is specific, already known to the listener, or a superlative, like the tallest tower. And finally, use no article at all for broad general ideas, most countries, and meals. So just plain life.
Let's look at the 2 absolutely most common article mistakes we see. It's stressful job, and the life in a big city is hard. Look, both of these are traps. Here is how we conquer them. First, do not drop the a or an before a singular job. Always say it's a stressful job. Second, do not add the to a broad general concept. It's not the life, it's simply life in a big city is hard. Basically, keep general ideas general.
Moving to trap number 4. Tricky preposition phrases. Embracing the chaos.
Let's just admit right now that English prepositions often lack pure, unadulterated logic. I mean, why do we arrive at an airport, but we are in a city? It's enough to drive any learner crazy. But our source gives us the ultimate survival hack here. Learn the whole chunk, not the single word. Instead of trying to translate prepositions word for word from your native language, or trying to hunt for some strict mathematical logic, just treat them as unbreakable units of meaning, rather than individual puzzles to solve.
So here are some of those correct preposition chunks we should start recognizing right away. At the weekend. Look at my phone. Interested in it. Biggest in the world. Works at or for a company. And I want to specifically warn you against a couple of classic traps right here. Never say look on my phone, and please, whatever you do, avoid saying biggest on the world. Just learn the entire phrase as one solid block. Biggest in the world.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. Trap 5. Make, do, have, and take. Categorizing actions. Now, collocations are basically just words that naturally pair together. And notice the core difference here, because it gives us a logical framework so we don't have to just memorize endless, boring lists. Make means to create or produce a result. You are bringing something entirely new into existence. Do, on the other hand, is an activity or a task. You're just performing an action, like doing your homework or doing some research. Which leads us perfectly to the ultimate classic error, do a mistake or take a mistake. No way. The correct phrase is always to make a mistake. Why? Because think about it. When you mess something up, you're actually producing a result. It's technically a creative act. You created an error where there literally wasn't one before. So logically, you only ever make a mistake.
And here we are at our final obstacle course challenge. Trap 6, Mastering English Quantifiers. How much versus how many? This is all about figuring out exactly when to use much, many, a few, or a little. Notice how cleanly these rules separate out. On one side, we have countable nouns. These are things you can literally count one by one, like people, lessons, or photos. For these, use many and a few. On the other side, we have uncountable nouns. These are big concepts or substances, like time, money, or water. You can't say one water, two waters, right? So for these, you absolutely must use much and a little. You take a few lessons, but you drink a little water.
Now, before we wrap this up, here is a fantastic native speaker hack. A lot of works with both countable and uncountable nouns, and it honestly just sounds best in positive sentences. Let's say you want to express that you have an abundance of time. Saying we have much time sounds incredibly unnatural to a native speaker. But if you swap that out to we have a lot of time, it sounds perfect. A lot of is your universal go-to hack for positive statements.
Congratulations! You have officially survived the 6 B1+ grammar traps. You now have the exact frameworks, the cheat sheets, and the structural hacks to bypass the most common pitfalls in English. So I have to ask you, which of these rules will you conquer in your next conversation? Will you flawlessly navigate a past simple story without dropping into the present? Will you correctly make your next mistake? The tools are now completely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Go put these into practice, and I'll catch you next time.